So juicy. Oh, we're live.
Yeah, welcome, Katerina, and thanks for joining us. Thanks, Erica, for helping me co-host this event. We're really all co-hosts here, and our keynote speakers just joined us. And Pradnya is, I'm going to try to make my introduction short here, just to try to make up a little time. But she's really been one of the most influential people in my life in terms of my business development. And she just has some powerful concepts that I just don't see explained elsewhere in the detail that she goes into. And she really gets to the heart of what IMAGEMAKER is about. And I'm just going to turn it over to her and we can debrief a little bit later. Thank you.
David, can you confirm that you can see the screen?
Yeah, we got you.
Give me just a second. On my side, it said it's not showing. Do you see it now?
Yeah, I do see it. It might have gotten hidden from the Zoom, but yeah. I'll double check the.
Okay, if you can see it, I'll continue.
We can see it in non-presentation mode right now. It's like, it says, welcome, Pradnya Leitner.
Never mind, we'll continue with this.
Okay, great.
That way we can get going. So thank you again, David, for that kind introduction. And welcome to folks who are tuning into our session today. You know, I always like to open up a presentation with a quote. And for this one, the quote that really speaks to my heart is the quote that's put together by James Allen, a Victorian philosopher and mental science writer. He says, "Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought in shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. We think in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass." Folks, the reason I cited that quote, because it's very much descriptive of our self-image. You see, we hold an inner image of ourselves. And I'm not referring to the reflection that mirror shows you or reflects back to you. That's the physical you, right? The physical aspect of you. But as Dr. Maxwell Maltz in his book, Psycho-Cybernetics, has put it eloquently, that book is all about self-image psychology. And that is where he explains that we use our mind to create the image of ourselves. And this image that you have created of yourself intentionally or habitually, right? It dictates the results that you will obtain in life. And it influences these results to the nth degree. So the question here is that, are you really satisfied and extremely happy about the results that you're getting in your life, be it professional aspect, personal life, right? Relationship, parenthood journey? Because if you are really satisfied, then know that your self-image is really commensurate at the level at which it's allowing you to produce those results. But if it's not, then know that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Because if you go back to working on that inner self-image, no matter what, you will ultimately land up shifting the external reality in that particular aspect. So again, as I said it, there is something at the core of our minds that determines how we see ourselves, regardless of the objective reality that could be on the external plane. Right? Now, that is what we refer to as inner self-image. This inner self-image, folks, it sets the boundaries of your individual accomplishments. In other words, it determines what you can do or won't do. right? It truly is a key to human personality and human behavior. So, but interestingly, the fascinating fact about the self-image is that, it is our very own conception of ourselves, and it is up to us to change it. But to be able to change it, you ought to go back to the level where you're beginning to understand yourselves, right? Think about it. How do you ever become confident in any field of, professional endeavor? You gain knowledge. So if you want to be self-confident and have a very positive self-image and self-esteem, there's no other way but to really learn more about yourselves, right? Now, most of these beliefs about ourselves that we're carrying in deeply in our heart, they've been ingrained by our past experiences, past successes, and past failures, right? So from all of this, we constructed sort of a mental self or image picture of ourselves. And it influences your results, your behaviors, your actions. So what I always tell, my clients or even anybody that I would converse with is that if you want your results to shift in a phenomenal way, you cannot just focus on your behavior, because behavior is a secondary cause. The primary cause is in your conditioning or is in your self-image that I'm just going to momentarily talk about, via slides here. So with that said, folks, just a brief introduction of myself. My name is Pradnya Leitner, and I am a mindset-based personal and business success coach. And my journey, just as Corey narrated too, didn't start on this path right out of school. I spent about 10 years in the corporate world working for IBM and then Salesforce in various roles: corporate sales, sales enablement and execution, global marketing leadership. However, there came a point around 7th year in my journey where I realized that there's a difference between achievement and fulfillment. And I really wanted to have the latter, because with all due politeness, my resume looked stellar, but I was not fulfilled. There was a gaping hole in my heart. And that's what got me started on this path, as I wanted to live the life of meaning and significance while contributing to others' lives that's in alignment with who I am. And so, having said that, I really embarked on this journey of learning and self-immersion in some of the concepts that I'm about to share with you. And my mentors, again, it matters who we learn from. And I learned what I learned from my mentor, Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher. So again, I landed up serving my clients that come from all walks of life. Some are really senior, established businessmen. Some are really getting started. And I think you can observe it on the screen by yourselves as to who I have landed up serving. However, if you were to ask me, well, Pradnya, what's the common thread amongst them? I would tell you that they all are focused on being more, doing more, having more, and giving more. And this is not for some external validation or to stroke their ego, but they have that inner quiet knowing that there is more in them, and they want to bring it to surface. And the only way you can do that is when you're working on yourself and uncovering that potential. So with that 2-minute worth of an introduction to myself, I want to center my attention and rest of the time, be it focused on you, right? So take a moment, and as we're diving deeper into the self-image concept, know that in order to recreate your self-image, first and foremost, you ought to know where you're headed, AKA you ought to know what your goal is. So if you just take a few moments and then go within and ask yourselves, what is it? Where are you in life? This is May 2021, almost middle of 2021, right? What do you see yourself accomplishing before the end of this year? Personally speaking, professionally speaking. What sort of changes do you want to see have happened in your life before the end of this year? And the reason I'm gathering your attention to it is because what you think matters. And it matters because fear and faith, folks, are both unseen states that we choose to believe in. What we're afraid of hasn't happened yet. What we're choosing to put our faith into hasn't shown up on the physical plane yet. But you have a choice. And that is why I want you to really reflect and think about what is it that you're thinking about predominantly for the rest of the 2021. Okay. Now, if you're thinking about your life, rest of the 2021 and beyond, then are you able to articulate in a crystal clear manner what is it that you desire in your business as well as in your personal life? Why? Because folks, desire really is the starting point. It's very nebulous. It's very ephemeral. So that desire itself requires that you shape it up. You tend to it initially, right? So do you have a crystal clear image of the results that you want to accomplish in your business, in your relationship, in your personal life, in your parenting journey? Because only when you know where you're headed, you can set your sail in that direction, right? So it's very, very important. And the reason you're, again, setting these goals, folks, is because the real purpose of a goal is to grow, not to get, right? As you grow in your self-image to become this person who goes on to accomplish, these goals, you will land up accomplishing whatever it is that you're setting your mind and heart onto. So what if, just because, I know that many of the people who are tuning into this come from a business background or entrepreneurial background, and let's say if you are in a employment situation, right? What is your goal? And I mean, as we're going through it, the PowerPoint didn't function, so I'm just, sharing this slide here. What is your goal for, 2021, right? And should you care to give yourself, let yourself, have the permission to 2x that goal, right? What would that be like for your life? What sort of changes will you accomplish, right? How will that transform the quality of your life? From there, if I may ask you, I did not say that you're going to make it happen overnight. I'm not making any of that promise, right? Because I don't have a magic pill, but I do have a set methodology, time-tested, proven principles that I walk people through, that I help them understand, that can help them make a quantum leap. So what if you 3x that goal, right? And you might say, well, Pradnya, this is a bunch of baloney. But this is where, hopefully, this example really accentuates this point. This, folks, is Roger Bannister, right? In 1950s, this guy at the age of 25 wanted to set the world record of running a mile under a 4-minute span. Okay. Now, doctors, researchers, everybody, scientists had said that it's not possible for a human body is not designed to do this, and it's not possible for it to run a mile under a 4-minute span. Now, Roger did not accept that limitation or a comment or a suggestion. He saw the image that he could do that. He had that can-do attitude. Now, that doesn't mean that everything was served to him on a silver platter, but he held that image about himself. He had that vision that he was guided by, right? And then, folks, in 1952, at the age of 25, this gentleman indeed set the world record to run a mile under a 4-minute span. Now, 2 months down the line, folks, there were a bunch of other people around the globe who matched Roger's record. And folks, a few months down the line, somebody broke Roger's record. Now, why am I emphasizing on this? Because I want you to really, really think, where was the limitation? Was it a physiological limitation, or was this a mental limitation? Absolutely mental limitation, right? So the gist here is that your real limits in life are far beyond the artificial limits that we impose, mental limits that we impose on ourselves. And we do that because of our current self-image, the way we perceive ourselves. The moment you study yourself, you're able to, and you allow yourself to get out of those shackles. This quote, I hope, resonates with your heart as much as it did with mine. Michelangelo said, folks, the greater danger for most of us lies not in setting our aims too high and falling short, but in setting our aims too low and achieving our mark. So don't set the goals to, again, please somebody or get validated, but it is your life and it's one life. What is it that you really, really want? And then as you learn to develop the self-image that can take you there, you absolutely can land there. Now, here's my question to you. Most of the people would tell you that you need to know where you're at and where you're headed, right? And once you know these two things, then you're all set, right? But that is not the case. Oh, wow. PowerPoint is collaborating, cooperating now. Awesome. So where you're going, you need to know. But folks, if it were to be that easy, then why do you think so many people are stuck? At first, I thought they don't have goals, but that's not the case, because Harvard, studies demonstrated that people, even people who have goals, only 13% of them land up accomplishing their goals. And do you know why? Because it's not that we don't know what to do, we just don't. Each one of us knows how we can do better than we're capable of or at the moment doing, but that doesn't mean we will land up doing it. And this is not an opportunity to belittle ourselves or be, condescending toward ourselves, right? But we've got to understand why it happens that way. It's because of your conditioning. And the reason I'm sharing and emphasizing on this conditioning is because your self-image is one of your biggest conditioning that you have. It's this conditioning, once you start understanding how it's formed, how it influences your results and behaviors, right? How it influences your every move in life, that is when you can create the conditioning, including the new self-image that is commensurate with your goal, see yourself in that place and act with that done energy from that place of wish fulfilled, goal accomplished. Now, what are paradigms? Paradigms, as I said, is mental conditioning, right? Two examples, very quick examples that'll help you understand these paradigms, folks. One is literally look at your phone, okay? Your phone, whatever phone you have, mine is iPhone. It's iPhone 10, okay? Now they have iPhone 11 and 12, right? Let's say for the next 2 years, I do not upgrade my iPhone, because the iPhone has an operating system, which is on the invisible plane, and then it has the hardware, right? Let's say if I do not upgrade the operating system, the software for the next 2 years, right? Then this phone would be capable of doing a whole lot more in 2 years, but it won't be able to. And it's the same thing with the human mind. You and I are capable of doing a lot more, but we won't be able to if we're acting and operating with this crippled self-image or just an existing self-image, which could only give us the current results. So just like we upgrade the phone, are we then willing to upgrade our own conditioning, what we believe in, how we think, how we process our emotions, what our expectations, what our attitudes are, what our self-esteem is, all of that, right? When we do that, we're able to do things that we previously only dreamed of. So let me just summarize all of this in one slide before I hand it over to my dear coach and mentor, Carolina Rando. So folks, your self-image, as I just elaborated, for the last 10 minutes or so, is the most critical, crucial determining factor in your results in personal and professional life. Because there's no, there's another friend I have on the call, Erica, right? There's no daughter Erica and then professional Erica and then aunt Erica and then, maybe friend Erica. These are the different roles that Erica is performing, but there is just one Erica, and what the heck, Erica is her name, right? She is the very being that's showing up in the world and thereby creating the results that she's creating. So this self-image concept has been very well explained by a Harvard psychologist, Dr. Rosenthal, and he documented it as Pygmalion Effect, okay? Essentially, the gist of his documentation is that our beliefs about ourselves influence our actions toward others, okay? Our actions toward others impact others' beliefs about us. Now, what they believe about us causes their actions toward us. And their action toward us ultimately reinforces, confirms, validates our beliefs about ourselves. So where did this all begin? It began with me, with Erica, with David, right? It's how we see ourselves. And if you want to be a powerful speaker, you're going to have to develop a self-image of a person who has a servant leader's heart, who really speaks in an authentic way and is willing to hold himself or herself vulnerable, as Corey pointed out. I mean, if you take an example of a real estate agent, right? If it's a rookie real estate agent, feeling a little shaky and wobbly because he hasn't operated much in the field, right? And has bills to pay and whatnot, and he shows up to pick up a listing, his beliefs are kind of not that great or sort of suboptimal in comparison to another real estate agent, maybe who's a top dog, right? So his belief influences his action toward how he interacts with the seller. Based on that, seller makes his judgment, right, or beliefs about who he perceives this rookie real estate person to be. Based on that, the seller, crafts his response to the rookie salesperson. And then from there, the rookie real estate salesperson validates his own beliefs about himself. So essentially, it could become a doom fulfilling cycle, or it could become a prosperity circle, right? But it all begins with you, with your inner self-image. Folks, I love how Einstein puts it. He says that we cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking we used when we created them, right? Your self-image got created in your little life and thereafter because of what you are surrounded by, what you accepted, what you processed in your mind, in your thinking. But as I said it just a couple slides ago, you have a choice. When you learn more about yourself, who you are, what mind is, what's the relationship of your mind to your behavior, to your results, right? How to tackle fear and procrastination, first and foremost in your mind. How to integrate your beliefs with your behavior, how to assume the attitude of wish fulfilled. When you understand all of that, you're able to originate and moderate your thoughts, thereby cultivate the new self-image that can then take you to your goal, right? Mental chatter does not equate thinking. In closing, folks, we think about 60,000, 60 to actually 72,000 thoughts a day, right? That's one thought per second of every waking hour. 95% of those thoughts, folks, are repeated every day, every day. And 80% of those thoughts, if you're thinking habitually, not deliberately, intentionally, right, could be negative. And by that, I mean limiting, self-beliefs and whatnot. So aren't you surprised when people are growing at a very marginal incremental rate? Because unintentionally, when they're not mindful of their self-image, their own thinking, their own beliefs, and they're not choosing to create them deliberately, right? They're essentially reliving yesterday today and thereby creating tomorrow that's a replica of yesterday. Are you with me? So how can we expect ourselves to grow? But if you are willing to break that cycle and really dive deeper into what makes you tick and understand yourself and thereby show up authentically and in an empowering way, you can create your results. Folks, the only way to override this conditioning and create a new self-image is by learning to think and changing your subconscious conditioning. So with that, I want to leave you with this quote. Really think deeply about it. I love how Buckminster Fuller puts it. He says that you never change thing by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. But let me ask you, where are you going to build that new model first? On your inner plane, in your powerful mind, in your powerful human imagination. And then you're going to start living like that person, even though there is no proof on the physical plane. Rather, the physical reality might be quite contrary to that, but you're guided by your true north. Your actions are coming from that place, and ultimately you can't help but birth that reality. So again, thank you very much, David, for giving me an opportunity. If this message resonated with you and you want to learn more, just send me a message on Facebook or LinkedIn. My name's Pradnya Leitner, and I'd love to connect with you. And again, if you would like, I'm also, excited to welcome you into my Facebook community. Just send me a message and I'm happy to connect. David, with that, let me just turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. And if you don't mind just stopping the share there. So we will do a brief round of comments here from the panel, and then we're going to get right to Erica and Katerina. And I'm going to say more about Pradnya's things at the end, so I'll keep it brief, but I really think what she specializes in is how to break down barriers. There are so many barriers that we throw up, and we call it the terror barrier. And she's developed a process for how to get through those barriers and those paradigms. And I can tell you from my journey that it's not easy to change ourselves, but it's the most important and powerful thing we can do. And it really, you can't do it alone either. So I think I appreciate everybody in this group for helping me on that process. But these folks will get you started, and that's what's so powerful. And if anybody else has any comments, feel free. I don't know if Erica, go ahead.
I know I have so many feelings about what you were saying, Pradnya, because I'm having like several hot flashes while I'm listening to you talk. And so it's so much for me about what you didn't know that you didn't know that you didn't know. And for me as a licensed therapist, there's so many ways to get to people and their stuck places. And I understand you're coming from this beautiful coaching place, and that's so needed. The mindset workup is so needed, and I'm always working on my mindset. Katerina knows that about me. Like I'm always like trying to get out of my own way for some of these things I'm doing in my business, and I just so appreciate what you're offering and how you're saying it. So I'm so excited to maybe one day I'll get to work with you. And it's all great to hear you present yourself again. I love hearing you speak. So thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Really appreciate it. Quick comment there is that skill sets are very important, Erica, right? Skill set, maybe it's the sales mastery, maybe it's marketing mastery, operations excellence, right? It is all required, but mindset and skill sets have to fall in place. So you can't put the cart before the horse. You have to have the mindset, which is the foundational piece. And then you can't just be sitting at the beach drinking pina colada. Then you really have to pick up the skills. And when that combination occurs, or these two things come together, mindset with skill sets, you explode. So I loved how you pointed that out. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, we can come back to some more discussion at the end as needed, but I'm going to stop this segment and we're going to get right to Erica and Katerina. So thanks everyone for your patience and great work, Pradnya and Corey. Check the first two parts out if you're just joining us. Thank you.